Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Travel Coach Network podcast. It is I, Sahara Rose DeVore, the founder of the Travel Coach Network and the creator and instructor of the Travel Coach Certification Program. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Robin Finney. Robin is an intuitive coach for Soulo Experiences in Oracle, a certified resource retreat leader, an author, international model and speaker, and a world traveler, and extraordinaire, and the founder of Wandering Aunt. She supports others in exploring the unknown with curiosity so that they can show up as their most authentic self through coaching, travel retreats, and photoshoot experiences. Robin lives a bold, unconventional life as a nomad. Since 2018, Robin has traveled solo to 22 countries across 6 continents and has modeled in 11 international photo shoots as part of her mission to support local photographers, designers, and stylists. Currently, she resides in Brazil. Robin, thank you so much for joining us on the TCN podcast today.
Thank you for having me, Sahara. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. Well, tell us a little bit more about yourself and where did your passion for travel stem from?
Yeah, so I'm a Tennessee native, and when I was a kid, travel's always kind of been just that innately within me, and curiosity, and growing up in the country and exploring in the woods, getting lost in that way. And my family would also take long cross-country road trips. We had family in New England and Colorado, and so we went all over the United States when I was a kid, and that really opened up that excitement, adventure within me. And then when I was in college, I had the opportunity to study abroad in Vienna, Austria, and that was my first time outside of the United States. And it was really in that experience that I was able to see that there are other ways of living, and that really fueled my desire to see more of the world and see more cultures and ways of living life.
Would you say that trip to Austria is a trip that really transformed you, or do you have a trip in mind or an experience that really made a big impact on you?
Yeah, so the Austria definitely was like getting my feet wet into traveling to other places, being in other languages, navigating, public transit and all of that. And it really, I've had so many travel experiences over the last 20 years. And one of the big ones that I attribute really is in 2014, I went to New Zealand. And that was the first time that I had this feeling of, I don't want to go back. And it started to spark these questions of what could be possible if I decided to just travel full time. And I didn't know at the time what that looked like. And it took me many years to kind of move through that. But I would say that trip was kind of the catalyst to opening up to where I am right now.
Wonderful. And would you say that trip to New Zealand is a solo journey that you had? That's something that you love to help others with. Can you tell us more about what a solo journey means to you?
Yeah, so solo, I call it solo, SOULO, and it's really speaking to the heart of and the soul of that depth that travel opens up within each person. And so typically it is like a solo journey where you're on your own, and it can still, like, these solo experiences can still come alive when you are traveling with others. It really comes through with the intentions that you set for your journey and how you're opening to the possibilities within each place, the stepping into the unknown, which is where I say that the possibility is born. So it really did, even though I was traveling with people at that time, but it was very much an internal journey for me because I was starting to ask these deeper questions of myself and looking at my life and my job and asking the question, like, is this what I really want?
Yeah, and that's something that travel can really do for so many of us. It could take sometimes just that one trip to really open our minds and our hearts to questioning, who am I as a person? What do I want out of life? who do I want to, what kind of life do I want to have? What matters to me and what doesn't. I know that, when throughout all of my solo journeys around the world too, that was a part of my whole journey that I absolutely loved, was discovering not only places, but discovering within myself. And we hear people often say, travel feeds my soul. So when you hear people say travel feeds my soul, what's something that comes to mind of why that would be?
I like to say that travel is one of the quickest ways to step into transformation and step into confidence and learning about yourself, and especially solo travel, because when you're on your own, you don't have like people within your community or traveling like friends with you or family that you can lean on in that way. And so you really do have to rely on yourself and rely on strangers. And so there can be a lot of fear that comes up inside of that, and it can expose a lot of our egoic ways of having to do everything on our own, or not being able to ask for support or for help. And so I really think that when somebody says that travel feeds their soul, it's because it's opening and awakening a part of them that it really comes back to their authentic self. And they're like, oh, I get to be me. Nobody else is around me. They can try on like different selves that are all part of them, but maybe they hold back from when they're in their comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely. I hear often people say who they travel, and it's a way for them to reinvent themselves, or it's a way of them to have a sense of belonging, because it can be who they truly are, but maybe their society that they're growing up in, or hometown or family structure, whatever it might be, didn't allow them to be them full selves. And travel something that, we're a small fish in this big old ocean out there, and we can really morph into who we are and who we want to be, and without judgment. We meet people who didn't know anything about us, and it's a great way to find ourselves. Would you say, what inspired you then to become a coach and to help others have their own solo journeys as well?
So when I started my solo journey in 2018, I'd quit my corporate job. I sold my belongings, my car, my furniture, and condensed my life to a suitcase. And I started traveling, and I gave myself space. I wasn't clear what I wanted to do next. And so I gave myself about 8-9 months to travel with no worry about having to find a job or anything. I was living off of savings. And it was, in my experience, I'm surrounded in a network of coaches. I have a lot of friends who this is the path they've taken. And I started my journey in Thailand, and one of the first people I met there was a coach. And it kind of was like planting seeds, and somebody on a retreat, another coach on a retreat in 2017 that like really catapulted me taking this leap, had said to me, like, you would make a really good coach. And I didn't really know much about the world and in that, like the coaching world. But as I got through my travels and started and really was leaning into my intuition and trusting, like I only bought one-way tickets, and I would just like trust the path and trust people that I met and where to go next. And then I would have people reach out to me and ask for support, and ask like, well, how do you work through the mindset? How do you work through the financial part? How do you feel safe? How do you not feel lonely? And so it really just opened up and showed me that I have something that I could support others. And I wanted to support them in this because I know the value and the depth that travel provides. And that really planted that seed for me to step into it.
Do you have a specific type of person that you help? Have you seen a theme in the type of clients that come your way, or that you really enjoy empowering and helping?
So it's a little twofold. So I'll have beginners who maybe they haven't traveled on their own, and they're looking for they're ready, like they're ready to, and they know they need that support. Somebody to help them through the anxieties and even the logistics and questions that come up. And so I've helped people to get their passport, step outside of the US, navigate that journey. And then I also have on the other side of that, people who maybe they have traveled on their own and they're wanting to go deeper with their travels. So they're wanting to find more meaning. They're wanting to connect with their ancestors. Maybe they're working through something in their life. And so there's a depth to it, an intuitive part to the trip where they're going somewhere that they're being called to go and they don't necessarily know why they're going.
Would you say that portion of helping people is where you help them uncover who they are at their core?
Yes. And we always, with every client, I always start with a desire session. So I take them through an intuitive session and we look at like where they are, like what is calling them to the journey, and then kind of like obstacles they may face along the way, and then what they'll receive at the end. And then we set intentions around that. So rather than, because so many of us in this, I mean, I was in this world a long time ago, we travel to escape. And we expect these places to feed something within us. And we don't necessarily, it's like we're going for the entertainment, we're going for the beauty. But I like to take it a layer deeper, where we actually look at like, okay, well, who do you want to be? Who do you want to show up as? What types of experiences do you want to have? What types of people do you want to meet? Because I believe that how you show up is what you're going to attract back. So that's what I navigate with my clients.
Yeah, I hear intentional travel quite a bit, and that's something we focus on a lot in travel coaching in general, and the travel coach networks, helping people set intentions for their trips. Because like you said, of course, we travel for the entertainment, we travel to try new foods, we travel to see beautiful sights and explore new places, but at the same time, we're traveling for a reason, whether to escape, or what are we escaping from,
Right.
and what are we trying to get to, and how do we want this trip to look like? So for you, helping your clients set intentions, what does that look like for your process and working with your clients?
So I use a combination of part of being an oracle. I'll use oracle cards to dive a little deeper. And I always like to say that oracle cards are a mirror reflecting back to you what you already know inside. So it's a tool that really supports in bringing up things beneath the surface. And so we always start there. And then I also tap into my own intuition, and I feel a lot in my body. So I can really like feel a client, and if something's kind of moving through their body or stuck, then we can dive a little deeper there. And then it's also supporting my clients and learning how to tune into their bodies, because our bodies really are, like I like to say, like our body knows before our mind does. So when you're traveling, you may be setting off on a destination and think like, oh, I've got the directions and everything. And then you turn down a street and all of a sudden your body is just like tensing and telling you like, nope. And your mind may not know why, but it's learning to trust that. And so that's part of the process, as well as like teaching my clients how to be aware and really tune in and listen. Because oftentimes we're so distracted in our heads that we're not really paying attention to what's going on in our bodies.
Yeah, we can really do a disservice for our overall experience if we don't set intentions for those trips. And if people listening who aren't sure of like, you're like, oh, well, it's kind of woo-woo to set intentions for a trip. I just want to travel. I just want to get away. What would you say to that? If someone just says, I never think about it. I just need to go on a trip and I just need to go to the beach. Would you think that intention setting would be beneficial for them as well?
Yes, absolutely. And I recently worked with a client who has traveled a lot and has never taken that step. And so we talked about it, and we start small. So I'll ask like, well, how do you want to feel? And that's usually a way for people who maybe they aren't as like they don't really know, then it gets them into a different mind space. So when you think about like, how do I want to feel? Well, it's like, oh, well, I want to feel happy. I want to feel excited. I want to feel adventurous or courageous. And so just by having them kind of share a list of words, attributes that they want to experience, then we can kind of start to navigate. And typically by the end of those conversations and during the process of it, they can actually get into that space of it where they may not have seen the benefit at the beginning. And then even my client that I recently supported, when she got back from her journey, she said it was totally different than any travel experience she had been on. She was more connected to herself. She was more intentional about the people that she chose to talk to, because she realized before she would just talk to anybody. And this time around, she was able to really like tap into her energy and what felt like, oh, I don't really feel like talking to that person, or no, I'm curious. I want to know this person more, know more about their story.
Yeah. And that's what travel's all about, is getting out of our comfort zone. And it could be uncomfortable to have a conversation with someone, with a stranger, or someone who maybe you don't speak 100% their language, or they don't know 100% your language, or your customs are just so different, your culture so different. But sometimes it's that spontaneity in those conversations that really makes the biggest impact on you and really shape your perspectives and your overall experience for your trip as well too.
Right.
I saw on your website you talk about providing a post-trip integration session. Can you explain to our listeners what that is?
Yeah. So one of my questions that I dealt with for a long time was, how can I be travel Robin in all areas of my life? So, because I was recognizing I would be completely different, like different sides of me would come alive when I would travel. And then I would get back to my comfortable lifestyle and I'd fall into maybe playing smaller around people who knew me because I was afraid to express the side of me. And so over the years, I've developed more of that and recognized that, oh, I can be this person, whether I'm in New Zealand or Thailand, or I'm in Dallas, Texas. It's like you can bring those attributes. And so the integration call is really to support the client in like taking what they learned during their travels and during their trip and noticing like, okay, how did your intentions show up? What did you notice about? So it's kind of a debrief call as well. So it's like taking the experience, asking questions, allowing them to go deeper, and then also setting intentions going forward. So, okay, great. So you found this part of yourself come alive. How can you allow that part of you to come alive in all areas of your life, no matter where you are? And so the integration call really dives a little deeper into that.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to keep in mind, is that we learn so much through our travel experiences, and we will really do ourselves a disservice if we don't acknowledge and start implementing those lessons we learn, those realizations that we gain, and more too. So I love that you focus a lot on that post trip, and that's really important for coaches to be doing as well.
Yeah. Because I find it could be a missing piece a lot of times, because it's like, oh, you got all of this great information. Now go back to your life. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and people feel like that after they go on a trip. They come home and now they're like, well, I'm back in my busy routine. I'm back in my daily schedule. I'm back in my work mode. I'm back in cleaning the house all the time. And they go back to that same mindset and feeling that they had that caused them to want to get away in the first place. So really using travel as this tool, this vessel, to be able to help them better their lives, better their well-being, their relationships, their mindset, and more, right? Perfect. Can you hear me? Wonderful. And we're coming up towards the end here, but you are a retreat leader, a coach, you are a speaker, an author. what advice would you have for business owners and travel business owners and travel coaches and coaches listening to this episode who are struggling to figure out their revenue streams in their business? I know that the coaching industry can make people think that, well, I'm a coach, I have to do one-on-one sessions, but what else can I do with my skills and my passion for travel? How did you come up with your revenue streams? Was it a process, or what did that look like?
Yeah, it's definitely been a process. I've tried on various modalities, and actually one-on-one, it took me a while to step into one-on-one coaching, because for me, it was very much it's such a vulnerable, intimate space to be with somebody in that regard. And it took a while for me to really step into my own confidence in that way. And so before that, I would do a lot of group workshops and events. And now with the one-on-one, I have different package levels. And I think that's really where it is. It's like meeting people where they are. So if somebody just wants guidance on a trip, they don't necessarily want to go through the coaching aspect, then I have one level where I'll just provide like my own insights around it. And then if somebody wants to go a little deeper, then there's another offering. And then I also and I've seen this with a lot of coaches as well, because there's always the question around, like, we know, like, those of us who are in the business of coaching, we know the value of coaching. And for a lot of people who this is new for them, investing in themselves can be really scary. And so, and some people don't have the means to pay the higher dollar items. So I've seen a lot of coaches, and I myself have been stepping into more like creating a sliding scale. So I have different package options to meet different income levels, and really support people at all levels. So that way it's not just like, here's the one thing I'm offering, and if you can meet it, great, but if not, sorry. And not that, like, we can always refer to other people, but I think it's really important in that realm to, not from a scarcity mindset or anything, but really to offer different price points. And so it's leaning into kind of looking at, like, okay, well, what does that look like for me? What packages would be fun? And that's the other part, is have it be fun. Whatever you're creating and selling, like, that's going to be the energetic match.
Yeah, definitely. You want to have a business that you wake up to every day and you enjoy doing, right? It's something I say over and over again to my members of my travel coach network and certification program, is that you can create the business of your dreams and create it so that you get up and you're not feeling like you're working every single day. I know that that's exactly what I do, and it really helps, especially on those hard days where you have a mindset block, or you're feeling a little discouraged, or whatever it might be, in a funk, because we all experience that. Your passion for what you're doing, your love will get you over that hump and get you to the next better day. You talked about doing photo shoots. Tell us a little bit about that. Why did you start doing photo shoots? How you mentioned how it could help local designers and photographers. Can you share more about that? It sounds really fun.
Yeah, so I did my first photo shoot in 2015, and that really, I would say, is that was right after my New Zealand trip, and it was the catalyst for me stepping into transformational work and really looking at my life on a deeper level. And it was the first time when I got the photos back, and even the experience of it, that I saw myself in a different light and the energy around it. And so when I started my solo journey, a friend had recommended San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. And so I was looking at pictures and I saw how colorful it was. And I thought, oh, that looks like a fun place to take photos. So I went, and at the time I had brought an outfit with me, but I thought, I'll get my makeup done. I hadn't done that professionally before. And as I was getting my makeup done, or I was getting my nails done, and then the owner asked, like, what are you doing today? And I said, actually, I have a photo shoot in the afternoon. And he got really excited. He was like, come back, I must do your makeup. And I was like, really? And he's like, yes, come back. And so I came, and I saw this just complete joy in his face of being able to share his craft with someone who doesn't look like his culture, somebody different, but somebody who was like really wanting to embrace the culture and learn more about it. And then I saw that same joy in the eyes of the photographer as he was taking me to some of his favorite places and hidden spaces. And so that kind of sparked the curiosity. And then I went to Columbia after that, and then I found a local, I went into a local boutique and found a dress, and that it kind of just created as it was born without me planning it. It was just something that I wanted to do for fun. And then since then I've been able to create it as a mission where I go different places, then I can hire and then share the stories I write on my blog about each place and the experience and the people behind the scenes.
I love that. That sounds like so much fun. I remember doing a photo shoot when I was in Bali one time. I found a photographer online. I was just looking for some headshots and some pictures used for business. And to this day, we're still friends on Facebook, and he loves following my journey and everything. So you never know the connections you can make with local artists and talent that way too.
Yeah.
And since we're wrapping it up here, I always love to ask, is there a fun fact about yourself that doesn't have to be business or travel related, the fun fact about yourself?
I mean, it is travel related, but it's aligned with what we just talked about. I was doing this for like my photo shoot mission. It was something that just brought me sheer joy. And they always say love finds you when you're not looking. And so I came to Brazil last year, and I ended up becoming friends with my photographer after the photo shoot. After I left the country, we started talking, and then I came back here in March, and we're dating, and he's been a part, like he supported my retreat. And so it's wild to me when you follow that. One, just wild that showed up, but also it's just that reminder that when you're just living life, that the most amazing experience and unexpected experiences can show up.
Yeah, definitely. I love that story. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who have found love at some point in a journey, whether it was short-lived or long-lasting as well. It's always fun. Such a fun part of the adventure, the incredible people that you meet, and in very unpredicted ways as well. But Robin, can you share how everyone can learn more about you, find and follow you as well?
Yes, absolutely. It is Wandering Ant, and that's AUNT. You can find that on my website, wanderingant.com, or my Instagram. That'll be the easiest way.
Perfect. We'll be sure to put all of those links in the show notes. Robin, thank you so much for joining us today on the Travel Coach Network podcast. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And everyone, please be sure to follow us on Instagram at the Travel Coach Network. You can learn more at thetravelcoachnetwork.com. Come give us a hello. We'd love to have you in our TCN Global community on Facebook. You can find the links for that and your free beginner's guide to travel coaching in the show notes, as well as all of Robin and every guest links are also always in the show notes for every episode. And if you know anyone who might be interested in travel coaching, please be sure to send them our way to our podcast. We truly appreciate it. And until next time, my fellow wanderers, bye for now.